Hey there, I'm Tamara, the therapist that's been there. Today I want to talk to you about creativity and anxiety, self-doubt, and trauma. Let me start by telling you a story. I've come to the point myself where I've healed enough of my trauma that I decided I wanted to branch out and explore a little bit, discover what I'm good at, discover what I enjoy. So I signed up for a 55 plus art class, 8-week long class. And what we're learning is painting, how to paint. This is one of the paintings that I did after I finished that class. But there are some things that I noticed during that class that I want to share with you. So there were about 13 of us in the initial class, and we had to go around the room and introduce ourselves. And since it was really the first in-person thing I've done since COVID and since starting all of my travel with my fiance, and since I had done so much work on myself, I thought, I wonder how I'm going to show up at this art class. So the first thing we had to do was introduce ourselves and say what we wanted to get out of the class and what our art background was. And as I introduced myself, I found myself saying that I got a C in art in high school, but I'm here just to learn. And am I an artist? No, but I don't care. It just has to be something that I like. As long as I like it, I'm happy. Well, as people went around the room, what I noticed was that there was more self-consciousness and kind of nervousness about putting themselves out there with art, even in front of a room full of only 10 people or less. I also noticed that what was getting in the way was, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, my art isn't good enough, I don't have any talent. Let me remind you that I came to the class saying, I'm not an artist, but I don't care as long as I like the work. Well, it turns out that I can create art. I had no idea. This is one of the pieces that I created, and one of the things that I learned in the class, and there are several things that I learned, but one of them I want to share with you is this idea that there is no art unless there's an audience. And I, like other artists, have pieces of myself that I'm critical about. But during the art process, I learned something, and I'll tell you about that in a second. This was taken from a photo when my reference was a photo from being in the Tetons in Wyoming. I've loved the picture. It's on my header on my Facebook page, but I wanted to paint it. So I painted this. I'm pretty happy with it, but there are parts of it that I criticize. And someone recently saw this painting, and do you know what she said? She said, I like the mountains. They look so real. So remember, art isn't art unless there's an audience. And guess what part I've picked at on this painting? If you guess the mountains, you're right. And there is also another piece that I created, and I'll put it up here so you can see it. It's a little piece that I sent with my daughter. And I just quickly made the piece and sent it with her to go home after a visit with me. And I was looking at the art in the morning, and there was a part that I was critical about, but art isn't art without an audience. And she said, I like the moon. And guess what was the part that I was picking myself about? The moon. So sometimes we have to be willing to put something out there and recognize that our critical voice is just our critical voice. It's not a voice that's true in the real world. And that is so true, so parallel as well in healing after trauma, dealing with our mental health. Art and creating art gives us an opportunity to confront that stuff in a different way than maybe therapy does. How often do we say, I made this beautiful thing, but there's one part of it that's wrong, so that's what we focus on. Just to discover that what we're focusing on as a negative happens to be the thing that other people love. That's true about artwork. It's true about our personality. Think about things that people compliment about you. that you don't want to accept because that's the part of you that you don't think is valuable. Another lesson I learned, and I'm going to share that with you too, it is that every painting has an ugly stage. So I'm going to switch this painting out with the second painting that I did inside that class. I actually finished it outside of the class, but started there. When I teach you this next principle, hold on a second, I'll be right back. This is the second painting. It's actually the third one. The first painting I did was copying my teacher, and so I don't really consider it one of my original works, but this is the second one, the second original work. It's a painting of my dog. It's very cute. I love it. But every painting has an ugly stage. That ugly stage is this. And the point is to be an artist and to be able to continue past this to that. We have to embrace the ugly. We have to embrace the not so pretty. And when I think about that, I think about when we have things inside of ourselves that we don't like, maybe trauma responses, maybe parts of our personality that came out of negative experiences. We don't like it, we want to push it away. Same is true with art. When I was at the ugly stage of this painting, and before I knew that they all have an ugly stage, I wanted to quit. In this class, I learned every painting goes through that phase. So if that's true and I can tolerate the ugly and sit with the ugly and look at it and explore it, then I can go from this to that. And that, I think, is so huge too when we think about who we are as human beings. Can we embrace those parts of ourselves that we don't enjoy? Can we, in our creative work, embrace things that we maybe don't like? If we can become more well-rounded, creative human beings. We can go from ugly to works of art. That being said, I want to tell you that I am loving art so much. I'm doing it every day. I'm sketching. I'm doing I've got a couple of art journals. And so I'm evolving as a human. And I'm going to have a playlist inside of YouTube dedicated to art and creativity and helping us become what we picture for ourselves. My goal is to get to the point where I can do art and do therapy just part-time and make my career for my retirement art. YouTube, yes, but art. I want to keep creating. So I'm going to have a playlist on art and creativity and growing our best selves and overcoming anxieties and embracing the ugly. I'm going to put that playlist here too, along with a website that has my blog and my blog about embracing the ugly and Facebook page about that too, so that you can see how growth can happen. Once we've healed a lot of trauma, it makes space for growth. But I also know artists who, in their trauma, from that place of trauma, can create amazing art that has all of that emotion in it. And then it's a cathartic process. So I want to invite you to join me on the journey. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Tamara Ridge, the therapist that's been there. See you next time.